Time now for our political insiders. Democratic strategist Tony May, Republican strategist Charlie Giroux here sitting to my left. Thank you guys for joining us as always today. So let's get right into it. We've heard from Annie a couple times throughout the newscast about Governor-elect Tom Corbett announcing his transition team, about 400 people making up about 17 committees and departments, and they're going to decide on who's going to be appointed to 25 different agencies. Now, what's interesting about this, I talked to Annie in the newsroom a little bit earlier, this is going to be about 2,000 jobs estimated. So is this good news for the Commonwealth to bring in these new people for this position?
Oh, this happens every 4 to 8 years. Right? 8 years has been our history recent. But I think the good thing is looking at the transition teams that Governor-elect Corbett has brought in. He's drawn very heavily on the Tom Ridge administration, which means that he's gotten experienced people working with experienced people from the Rendell administration. So we should come up with some pretty good candidates out of this, I think, for the permanent jobs.
Now, Tom Ridge and former Governor Thornburg as well. There were some people from that administration. But also what's interesting is there is a Democrat here, Tony Williams. He ran for governor in this election, and he is part of the Transition Committee for Education. What does that say?
A big signal there, Tanya, that school choice is going to be at the top of the Corbett agenda for education. That's a good thing for the Commonwealth. Tony Williams and a lot of other urban Democrats are saying our kids shouldn't have to suffer in substandard schools. They ought to have the same rights as other parents around the state to move their kids to good schools and to have real educational opportunity through school choice. It's an idea that time has come, and I think that you will see it at the top of the agenda in the next session of the legislature and throughout the Corbett administration. Good thing.
Now, Tony, your thoughts on this as far as a Democrat? A lot of Democrats worried we're going to have a Republican governor now. Does this signify that maybe he's going to be looking at both parties?
Oh, I think he's going to be looking at both parties. There are several other Democrats in that list as well. But I think Charlie's point is significant about the education transition team. Carolyn Dumaresque, a former school superintendent here in Dauphin County and former executive director from PSEA, is one of the few people on that transition committee who has direct classroom experience fairly recently in Pennsylvania. We've got a lot of people out of the charter school field and people, as Charlie has observed, from school vouchers. It says a lot about where Tom Corbett intends to go. And whether or not you like the idea of vouchers, it's going to be very high on his list, and we're going to have to address that pretty quickly.
All right. And one interesting side note here, he is expected to announce his successor for Attorney General in the next 3 weeks. Any top people in mind?
Charlie's a lawyer. I'm not, so I can't be a candidate.
I will not seek the opportunity nor accept it if it's offered. Okay. There are some great choices. My sense is, just a thought, that Bill Ryan, the first deputy now, will not only take the spot as acting Attorney General, which is the constitutional and statutory procedure, but that he'll also be named as the Attorney General for the next 2 years.
All right, Governor-elect Corbett says he has a list, so he'll announce in the next 3 weeks. We'll have to see what happens with that. Moving on to our national government. President Obama met with incoming GOP leaders and also Democrats. Top of mind today was tax cuts. We have the Republicans wanting tax cuts for everybody. We have the Democrats saying nope, only for the middle class. A decision needs to be made quick here, and one was not made today. Do you think they're going to come to
the good news, Tanya, as you heard Kumbaya floating up the river towards us.
That's because Rick Santorum wasn't there.
Down in Washington, they were having this wonderful conversation, is that they have agreed to at least negotiate out a settlement. And that, I think, represents a plus for the American people. They're going to have a serious discussion about where they go from here, a little bit of the partisanship put apart. I think that ultimately the American people are going to say that they want these tax cuts made permanent so that it doesn't become a political football all the time. And that raising taxes in a recessionary or tough economic times is simply not good public policy for anybody, but for the economy overall. And I think ultimately you will see these tax cuts extended and perhaps even made permanent.
All right, Tony.
And the big thing is that both sides talked. The fact that it was news that Republicans talked to Democrats in Washington is really a shame. And I think the fact that they were able to do it and make progress and to say that publicly that they've made progress is a very good sign about what's going to happen the next 2 years.
Yeah, they should be talking all the time.
You'd think so,
right.
Yes.
All right, Tony May, Charlie Giroux, thank you both for being here as always.